first time Lyra Vale saw the Alpha King, he was standing beneath a blood-red moon, not as a man, but as a legend. The entire pack had gathered in the obsidian courtyard of Blackthorn Keep, their silver torches flickering in the icy mountain wind. Warriors in dark leather armor stood in disciplined rows. Omegas lowered their gazes, even the elders, ancient wolves with eyes like fading embers, bowed their heads. And at the center of it all stood him, Alpha King Kale Draven, tall, broad, shouldered, dressed in black tailored silk that moved like smoke around his body. His presence alone bent the air heavy, dominant, dangerous. A scar traced the edge of his jaw, disappearing into the collar of his shirt like a secret no one dared ask about. Lyra stood at the back of the courtyard, half hidden behind a stone pillar, invisible, just like she had always been. An orphan she, wolf with no rank, no power, no wolf strong enough to earn respect. She worked in the castle kitchens, cleaned halls, delivered wine to warriors who never remembered her name, but tonight something felt wrong. The wind carried a scent she had never known before: wild rain, dark cedar, and burning embers. It wrapped around her lungs, claimed her breath. Her wolf stirred for the first time in years, and then Kale's head turned slowly. Deliberately, his eyes locked on hers across the entire courtyard. The world stopped. Lyra's heart slammed so violently she thought everyone could hear it. Impossible. An Alpha King did not look at girls like her. Yet his gaze did not waver. It darkened, possessive, hungry, and in that single heartbeat, Lyra felt something ancient snap into place inside her chest. The bond, no, that couldn't be possible. She had no rank, no power, no lineage worth speaking of. The Alpha King could not possibly bring her to me. The command sliced through the air. Gasps rippled across the courtyard. Lyra froze. 2 royal guards approached before she could think to run. The crowd parted, whispers rising like a storm. She's no one, she's weak. The king must be mistaken. But Kale was never mistaken. She was dragged forward, her boots scraping against stone. Her pulse roared in her ears. When she finally stood before him, she forced herself to look up. Big mistake. Up close, he was overwhelming. His scent crashed over her fully now, and her wolf whimpered, pressing forward inside her chest. She felt small under his shad, but not fragile. Claimed, "Your name," he said, voice low and edged with steel. Lyra Vale, Your Majesty." His jaw tightened. "Look at me, Lyra Vale." She did, and the moment their eyes met again, the air between them ignited. There it was, undeniable, faded. The elders began murmuring urgently, but Kale raised one hand, and silence fell instantly. "She is coming with me," he declared, not a request, a decree. Before anyone could protest, he gripped her wrist. His touch was firm, scorching through the thin fabric of her sleeve. He led her toward the towering gates of Blackthorn Keep. Lyra's legs felt numb. "Your Majesty," she whispered as they entered the grand hall. "There must be some mistake." "There is no mistake." His voice echoed off marble walls. Servants scattered as he strode through corridors lit by golden chandeliers. Every step felt like descending deeper into something inevitable. "Why me?" she breathed. He stopped suddenly. She collided lightly with his back. When he turned, his eyes were no longer just dark. They were conflicted, angry at himself. "You are my mate." The words struck like lightning. Her knees nearly gave out. "No," she whispered, "that can't be right. I don't even. My wolf is weak. I do not choose destiny," he said coldly. "And yet it chose you." There was frustration in his tone, not cruelty, but resistance, as if he had wanted someone stronger. Someone royal, not a kitchen servant with trembling hands. They reached a massive wooden door carved with ancient wolf sigils. His private chambers. Lyra's stomach dropped. "Your Majesty," fear threaded her voice now. He pushed the doors open. The chamber inside was vast, midnight silk curtains flowing around a grand canopy bed. A roaring fireplace cast flickering shadows across stone walls. Weapons lined one side, maps and battle strategies covered another. This was not a lover's room. It was a king's war den. Kale stepped inside and pulled her with him. The doors shut behind them with a heavy boom. The sound echoed like a final verdict. You will remain here tonight, he said, her eyes widened. Here. It is unsafe for you outside these walls. Unsafe from what? His gaze darkened. From those who would kill you to weaken me. Her breath caught. Kill her, because she was his mate. I didn't ask for this, she whispered. Neither did I. For a moment silence stretched between them, thick and heavy. Then something shifted. Cale stepped closer, too close. Lyra's back met the cold stone wall. The heat from his body trapped her there, not touching yet impossible to escape. His hand lifted slowly. She flinched, but instead of grabbing her, his fingers brushed gently against her cheek. Testing, confirming, his jaw clenched as if fighting himself. Do you feel it? He asked quietly. The bond pulsed between them like a living thing. Yes, she admitted. It scared her, but it also felt right. Cale exhaled sharply, stepping back as if distance was the only thing keeping him controlled. You will sleep in my bed. Her heart nearly stopped. And where will you sleep? She asked. His eyes flicked to the stone couch near the fireplace. I do not trust myself. The confession stunned her. The Alpha King, feared across territories, admitting restraint. But before she could respond, he moved to the door. There was a heavy metallic sound. A click. Lyra's stomach dropped again. You locked it, she said. Yes. Her pulse raced. You locked me in. I locked the world out, he corrected. His gaze softened just barely. Destiny may have chained us together, Lyra veiled, but I will not take what you do not willingly give. The tension in the room thickened. The fire crackled. The moonlight poured through the tall windows. And though fear still lingered in her chest, something else bloomed there too. Curiosity, power. For the first time in her life, she was no longer invisible. She was chosen. But outside the chamber walls, shadows moved in the courtyard. Whispers spread among rival alphas. And in the dark forest beyond Blackthorn Keep, crimson eyes opened. Destiny had plans neither Lyra nor Cale could yet see. And the lock on that door, it would not be enough to stop what was coming. Lyra did not sleep. Even though the bed beneath her was softer than anything she had ever touched, even though the silk sheets felt like clouds against her skin, even though exhaustion tugged at her eyelids, she could feel him across the room. Cale sat on the stone couch near the fireplace, forearms resting on his knees, head lowered slightly. The firelight carved sharp shadows along his jaw and collarbones. He looked less like a king in that moment, and more like a man fighting a war inside himself. The bond pulsed again, slow, hot, insistent. Lyra swallowed. Are you always this intense? She asked softly, breaking the silence. His eyes lifted immediately. Only when I am trying not to lose control. Her breath hitched. Silence stretched again, but it wasn't empty. It was alive, charged. You don't want me, she said before she could stop herself. His gaze sharpened. That is not the problem. Then what is? He stood, slowly, deliberately. Each step toward the bed made her pulse climb higher. When he stopped at its edge, towering above her, she felt very small, but not weak. You are human, raised, he said quietly. You have never trained as Luna. You have no political alliances, no protection. I didn't know being unwanted by my own pack would become a royal flaw, she replied bitterly. His jaw flexed. You think I care about status, don't you? He leaned down suddenly, bracing one hand against the mattress near her hip. Lyra froze. His scent enveloped her fully now, cedar, smoke, and storm rain. Her wolf pushed forward hard this time, no longer shy. You are my mate, Cale said, voice lower than she had ever heard it. That makes you the most powerful woman in this kingdom. The words should have felt empowering. Instead, they felt dangerous. Power paints a target, she whispered. He did not deny it. A sudden knock thundered against the chamber door. Both of them stiffened instantly. Cale moved faster than she could track all. Ready at the door, already armed with a blade from the wall. Speak, he commanded without opening it. It's Beta Lucian, came the voice from outside, urgent, tight. There's movement in the northern woods. Unfamiliar scents, multiple. Lyra's heart dropped. Cale's shoulders hardened. Hold the perimeter, he ordered. No one enters the keep. And the girl, Lucian asked carefully. Cale's eyes flicked to Lyra. His wolf flashed gold in his gaze. She stays where I can see her. Footsteps retreated down the hall. Kale turned the lock again, testing it. Lyra pushed herself upright on the bed. They're coming because of me. They are coming because rival alphas smell weakness, he corrected. And I'm the weakness, his expression darkened. Before she could react, he crossed the room again and gripped her chin gently but firmly, forcing her to meet his eyes. You, he said slowly, are the reason I will win. The certainty in his voice made her chest tighten. But fear still gnawed at her ribs. Why would destiny choose someone like me for you? For the first time, something flickered across his face. Memory pain, because destiny has a cruel sense of humor, he said quietly. Lyra frowned. What does that mean? He hesitated. Then finally spoke. My last mate died the night our bond was announced. The air left her lungs. It was an ambush. He continued, eyes distant now. They could not kill me, so they killed her. Lyra felt the weight of those words settle into her bones. That was why he looked at her with anger earlier. Not because he didn't want her, but because he was terrified of losing her. You think history will repeat itself, she said gently. I will not allow it to, he answered sharply. Another crash echoed from outside, closer this time. Lyra flinched. Kale's wolf surged visibly beneath his skin muscles tightening, veins darkening, golden light flickering in his eyes. Stay behind me, he ordered. The window at the far end of the chamber shattered. Glass exploded inward. A shadowed figure lunged through the opening. Kale roared. The sound was not human. It shook the walls. He shifted mid-motion, bones cracking, form expanding until a massive black wolf stood between Lyra and the intruder. The attacking wolf was gray, large, brutal, but not large enough. They collided in a violent snarl of teeth and fur. Lyra scrambled off the bed, heart hammering. She had never seen a full alpha shift before. The power radiating from Kale in wolf form was overwhelming, ancient, and lethal. The gray wolf snapped toward her. Kale intercepted instantly. His jaws clamped around the attacker's throat. One savage shake of silence, the body dropped to the floor. Blood pooled against the stone. Lyra's hands trembled. Kale shifted back, breath heavy, completely naked and splattered with crimson. He looked terrifying. And breathtaking, he turned to her immediately. Are you hurt? She shook her head, but something else had changed. She could feel it. The bond was stronger now, as if facing danger together had tightened the invisible thread between them. Kale walked toward her, the slow, controlled, you see now, he said quietly. This is what it means to be mine. Mine. The word wrapped around her spine. Another howl echoed in the distance, not one, many. Lyra's pulse spiked again. They're not stopping, she whispered. Kale's eyes blazed gold. Good. The air around him shifted from defensive to predatory. He stepped closer until only inches separated them. If they want war, he murmured, voice rough, they will learn what happens when someone tries to steal what belongs to the Alpha King. His hand slid around her waist, firm, protective, possessive, and this time she didn't pull away. Because somewhere deep inside her, Lyra Vale realized something terrifying. She wasn't just afraid of the enemies outside those walls. She was afraid of how much she wanted the man standing in front of her. And destiny, it was only beginning to tighten its grip. **** Part 3, the secret in her blood, ****, the howls outside Blackthorn, keep multiplied. Not scattered, organized, this wasn't a reckless attack, it was strategy. Kale stepped away from Lyra and pulled on dark combat trousers with swift efficiency. His body still streaked with drying blood. He looked like something carved from war itself. Stay in this room, he ordered. I'm not hiding while they come because of me. Lyra shot back. His gaze snapped to hers. For a heartbeat, Alpha and Luna clashed in silence. You don't even know how to shift properly, he said sharply. Her jaw tightened. You don't know that. Something flickered in his expression. Doubt. Your file said your wolf was dormant. It was, she admitted. His brows furrowed. Was. Before she could explain, pain exploded through her chest. She gasped. It felt like fire ripping through her veins. Kale reached her instantly. Lyra. She doubled over, clutching her ribs as heat flooded her spine. Her heartbeat thundered louder and louder until it drowned out the howls outside. I can't crack. The sound came from inside her, bones shifting, not breaking, becoming. Cale froze. No, he whispered. Silver light spilled from beneath her skin. Her back arched violently as something ancient awakened. Lyra screamed and shifted, but not into the small, weak wolf she had always imagined. Standing where she had fallen was a wolf unlike any Cale had ever seen. Larger than most females, her fur shimmered silver, white, almost glowing under the moonlight pouring through the shattered window. And her eyes, they were not brown, they were molten gold. Cale's breath left him. Impossible. Lyra blinked, disoriented, staring down at her paws. Power surged through her limbs, strong, steady, controlled, not weak, never weak. Outside, the attacking wolves suddenly went silent. One by one, as if something in the air had shifted. Cale stepped closer slowly. His wolf recognized her immediately. Not just mate, not just Luna, something higher, ancient. You're not dormant, he said hoarsely. You were suppressed. Memories flashed through Lyra's mind, strange fevers as a child, elders whispering. The day she was sent away to work in the kitchens. They had known, they had hidden her. Another presence stirred at the doorway. Beta Lucian stood frozen, staring at her. My king, he breathed. Her scent, I know, Cale said quietly. It wasn't just Luna's scent, it was royal blood. Lyra's ears twitched as distant wolves whimpered in submission beyond the castle walls. They could feel her. A low growl vibrated in her chest, not fearful, instinctive, commanding. Cale stepped in front of her protectively, even now. But slowly she nudged past him. He stiffened. Lyra, she walked toward the shattered window. Moonlight bathed her silver fur fully now. She lifted her head and howled. The sound tore across the mountains. It wasn't loud because of volume. It was powerful because of authority. Every wolf in the valley dropped. Cale felt it, the command in it. Ancient alpha blood, stronger than his own. Silence followed, then retreating footsteps in the forest. The attackers fled. Lyra's body trembled slightly as the shift reversed. She fell forward. Cale caught her before she hit the ground. He wrapped his arms around her naked form, pulling her against his chest. You hid this from me, he murmured, not accusing. Shocked, I didn't know, she whispered weakly. His heart pounded against her ear. This changes everything. Lucian bowed deeply from the doorway. There hasn't been a silver alpha born in centuries. Lyra looked up at Cale. What does that mean? His eyes searched hers. It means, he said slowly, that you were never meant to be invisible. A heavy silence settled over the room. Then realization hit him fully. The rival alphas hadn't attacked just because she was his mate. They had smelled her power. They had come to eliminate a threat to every throne. Cale's arms tightened around her instinctively. They will not stop now, he said. Then neither will we. Lyra replied, surprising even herself. He studied her face. And something shifted between them. Not just desire, not just destiny, partnership, equal power. For the first time since meeting her, Cale did not look conflicted. He looked certain. You are not staying locked in my chamber again, he said. She raised an eyebrow faintly. Afraid I'll break the door? A ghost of a smirk touched his lips. No. His thumb brushed her cheek gently. I'm afraid the world will. A horn suddenly echoed from the outer gates. Not attack, arrival. Lucian stiffened. My king, another royal banner approaches. Cale's expression darkened. Which kingdom? Lucian swallowed. The Crimson Dominion. Lyra felt Cale's body tense instantly. Why does that sound bad? She asked. Cale's jaw hardened. Because their alpha prince is unmarried. The weight of those words settled cold in the room. Lyra's golden eyes flickered faintly again. They think I'm available. She realized. Cale's wolf surged possessively inside him. Over my dead body. But outside the keep, a second army had just arrived. Not to kill, not yet, but to claim. And destiny, it had just widened the battlefield. Claimed before kings, the banners of the Crimson Dominion bled red against the morning sky. Lyra stood beside Cale on the high balcony of Blackthorn Keep, wind whipping her silver hair around her shoulders. She now wore dark royal attire, tailored leather fitted to her form. A silver wolf insignia resting at her collarbone. Not a servant, not invisible, a queen in the making, Below, the Crimson Army waited in perfect formation. At their center sat Prince Cassian Veilcrest, golden armor, crimson cloak, arrogant posture, and eyes that locked directly onto Lyra. Kale's fingers curled slowly at his sides. "He's scenting you," Kale said low enough that only she could hear. Lyra felt it too, that probing awareness, but instead of shrinking, her spine straightened. "Let him," she replied calmly. Kale glanced at her. There was steel in her voice now. "Good." The gates opened. Cassian dismounted with calculated elegance, boots striking stone like he owned it already. He bowed, but not deeply. "Alpha King Kale," he greeted smoothly. "I bring diplomacy." "You brought an army," Kale answered flatly. "A precaution." Cassian's gaze slid back to Lyra, "and a proposal." A low growl vibrated in Kale's chest. Lyra placed a subtle hand against his arm, not to stop him, to steady him. Cassian stepped forward just enough to be heard clearly. "It has come to our attention," he said, voice carrying across the courtyard, "that a silver alpha has awakened." Murmurs rippled among both kingdoms' warriors. Cassian continued, eyes never leaving Lyra. "A power that rare does not belong to one throne alone." Kale stepped down from the balcony stairs, placing himself slightly ahead of Lyra. "She belongs to no throne," he said coldly. "She belongs to herself." Cassian smiled faintly, "Of course, which is why I have come to offer her a choice." The word choice echoed dangerously. Lyra descended the stairs then, ignoring Kale's tension. Gasps followed her movement. Silver alpha scent rolled off her naturally, now commanding, regal. Cassian's confident mask flickered for the first time. Up close, he could feel it. She was stronger than he expected. "I offer alliance through marriage," Cassian said directly to her. "Join the Crimson Dominion, unite our bloodlines, rule beside me." Silence crashed over the courtyard. Kale's aura turned lethal, but Lyra didn't look at him. She kept her eyes on Cassian. "And if I refuse?" she asked calmly. Cassian's smile thinned. "The balance of power shifts. Others will come. Not all will offer marriage. A threat." Subtle but clear, Kale stepped forward instantly. "You overstep." Cassian's warriors shifted restlessly. Tension crackled. Lyra lifted her hand, and every wolf present stilled. Both armies, both kingdoms. Even Kale, the authority in her blood, surged outward effortlessly. Cassian's pupils dilated. "You feel it, don't you?" she said softly. "I am not something to be traded between crowns." Her eyes flared molten gold. "I am not a weapon for your ambition." Wind howled suddenly across the courtyard, lifting dust and cloaks alike. Cassian held her gaze, but sweat beaded faintly at his temple. "You misunderstand," he said tightly. "I seek strength beside me." Lyra stepped closer to him, close enough that Kale's wolf nearly broke through skin. "And what makes you think," she whispered, voice dangerously calm, "that I would stand behind you?" The courtyard went deathly still. Cassian realized his error, but pride kept him from retreating. "You would have protection," he said. Lyra's lips curved slightly. "I don't need protection." Then she turned, walked back toward Kale, and without breaking eye contact with Cassian, she slid her hand into Kale's. The bond ignited instantly, visible. A streak of silver and gold energy arced faintly between them like lightning. Gasps erupted. Cassian's face darkened. Lyra lifted her chin. "I have already chosen." Kale looked down at her, stunned only for a fraction of a second. Then his hand tightened around hers. "Possessive, certain, my Luna," he declared, voice echoing across stone and sky alike. The declaration wasn't ceremonial. It was primal, claiming. The bond flared brighter. Cassian stepped back involuntarily. For the first time since arriving, he looked uncertain. "This is not finished," he warned. Kale's eyes burned. "It is if you value your life," Cassian signaled sharply. His army began withdrawing in disciplined silence. But as he mounted his horse, he looked at Lyra one last time. Not with desire now, with calculation. When the crimson banners finally disappeared beyond the hills, tension remained heavy in the air. Kale turned to her slowly. "You could have sparked a war. I ended one." She corrected gently. He studied her, not as fragile, not as someone to lock away, but as equal fire. "You surprised me," he admitted. She smiled faintly. I surprised myself. For a moment, the courtyard emptied around them until only wind and distant mountains remained. Cale stepped closer, close enough that the world narrowed again. You chose me, he said quietly. Yes, even knowing what comes with my throne. She held his gaze steadily. I don't fear your darkness, Cale. His hand rose to her waist, and destiny. She felt the bond pulse warmly between them now. Destiny may have locked us in that room, she murmured, but I walked out by your side. His control finally cracked. Not violently, but intensely, he pulled her against him and kissed her, not gentle, not hesitant, a promise. A vow, a war declaration wrapped into one. Above them, storm clouds gathered on the horizon, because Cashin had retreated, but he had not surrendered. And in the shadows beyond both kingdoms, older enemies had begun to stir, ones who did not care about marriage, only power, and the Silver Alpha who now stood openly beside the most feared king alive. Destiny wasn't done. It was escalating,